in Kotoko, in the Kotoko versus Nsuantreman FC match. Honorable member, you have the floor. Honorable member for Brekum West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I make this statement as a result of the rising acts of vandalisms, acts of hooliganisms at our various game centers, and specifically in relation to the 19th week Premier League match played on the 2nd of February 2025, which resulted in the brutal stabbing of a Kotoko fan, Nana Yao Frempong, known as Pooley. Mr. Speaker, football is a sport that unites us as a people. It is a game of passion. It brings joy to millions of people across our nation. However, when that passion is tainted by violence, it ceases to be the beautiful game we all love. The events that unfolded before, during, and after that Premier League game are not only despicable, but a stain on the integrity of Ghanaian football and on our national character. Honorable Speaker, the tragic loss of life is not an isolated case, but a part of worrying trend of violence in our sports. About 24 years ago, Mr. Speaker, as a young sports journalist myself, working at the Radio Windy Bay, I was in Accra Sports Stadium on that fateful day on the 9th of May 2001 to cover Kumasi Asante Kotoko Accra House of Folk Premier League game match. On that fateful day, Ghana recorded the most tragic event in its history when 127 lives were lost as a result of football violence. Mr. Speaker, in the wake of this national calamity, the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Ajekum Kufuor, constituted a commission of inquiry, that's CI 34, to investigate the matter and make appropriate recommendations. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the far-reaching recommendations made to forestall future occurrences, football violence continues to plague the nation. Mr. Speaker, for example, Ghana were left dumbfounded when one of its topmost female referees, Teresa Bremensu, who was officiating in the 2019 Women Special Competition between prisons and Ampindakwa ladies, was beaten to pulp by the fans for what they claimed she failing to add extra time after the 90 minutes elapsed. Again in 2020, Mr. Speaker, we are aware of a Kotoko fan, Augustine Opon, who was shot in the eye when violence broke in the game against Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Brekum Chelsea. Also, just 2 years ago, my very good friend Edwin Aka, the general manager of Samatex FC, and other officials and players of Samatex FC were brutally assaulted in a Division 1 League match in Daboase in the game against Sky FC. Honorable Speaker, despite all the education, reminders, sensitizations, the act continues to be part of Ghanaian game with many casualties frequently recorded. Mr. Speaker, the situation calls for urgent action from all stakeholders. We as parliamentarians have roles to play: government, football officials, security agencies, clubs, and supporters. There is an urgent need for us to work collectively to eradicate such barbaric acts from our game. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to note that our new indefatigable Sports and Recreation Minister, Honorable Kofi Adams, has already swung into action. In his first day in office, he met the officials of the Football Federation to fashion out a plan to prevent future occurrences of such barbaric incidents in our stadia. I'm very confident with Honorable Kofi Adams, this canker will be dealt with once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware of the high-profile meeting between the Inspector General of Police and the stakeholders of our game, which produced 33 action points for implementation to curb hooliganism in our stadia. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, I urge Ghana Football Association and the National Sports Authority to put in place stringent measures and security and safety measures to prevent such occurrences in future. These include enhanced security at stadiums, strict enforcement of disciplinary actions against violent conduct, and also intensified public education on sportsmanship. Mr. Speaker, in our beautiful game of football, there are only 3 results. Either you win, you lose, or you draw. A good sportsman will accept whatever result that comes their way. Honorable, permit me to extend my heartfelt to the family of the deceased. No family should endure such a pain of a football match. I also call on all stakeholders to remain calm as the Ghana Police Service continue with their investigations to get to the bottom of the matter. Violence has no place in our football. It has no place in Ghanaian society. Let us all stand together to condemn this act and work together to ensure that our football stadia are safe. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for indulging me.
Thank you, Honorable Member. This statement has been presented, and before allowing members to comment, let me bring it to the fore that I am very much aware that the criminal aspect of the matter is before a court of competent jurisdiction. Therefore, members should be circumspect in commenting on this statement and limit their comment to violence in our football matches accordingly. Honorable Samia Oku.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to contribute to the statement made by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Brekum West. Mr. Speaker, let me also, first of all, extend deepest condolences to the bereaved family and to the deceased. Mr. Speaker, there are 4 things that excite passion and inflames passion within our society. These 4 things for me: 1, football; 2, religion; 3, ethnic issues; and also 4, political issues. What is before us today is association football. Right Honorable Speaker, in contributing to the statement made by the Honorable colleague Member of Parliament, I would also like us to also situate the matter. You cannot separate these acts of vandalism, hooliganism, and riotous behavior of fans also from sometimes poor officiating. If we cast our mind back to many of the issues around the world, anytime you have these huge disagreements among fans, at the heart of it has been a refereeing decision one way or the other. I would like us to also get the Referees Association of Ghana and the Football Administration to also pay keen attention to sometimes bad officiating or questionable officiating. I'm saying this because in today's football world, it's no longer what it used to be under the good days of Wilberforce Infum, the Golden Boy Abdul Razak and co, where football was played just to excite people or to entertain people. This time around, it's become a very commercial venture. And people get into these stands knowing very well and working out the odds on what they intend to achieve at the end of the day. I believe these acts of hooliganism are despicable, and it is about time that we don't just pay lip service to these matters when they are raised, but also get the law enforcement agencies to also enforce the laws. One of the main issues that for me continue to also agitate my mind has to do with the issue of citing drinking spots and beer bars around these stadia and sports facilities. One, you cannot enter the stadium with alcohol, but the people just take it before entering. So they enter, and the time that they reach that peak, that is when the match is also at this height. So one, we also have to be clear on the modalities and the guidelines and what we can also have around the various sporting facilities. Today we have a colleague down that I'm an unrepentant fan of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. But I also believe that in helping protect lives within the various precincts of our sports facilities, we have to look at the very things that are cited around it. Yes, you can have food joints, but the siting of sometimes some of these drinking bars is also a disturbance. Number 2 has to do with also enhanced security within the stadium. In the various stands, apart from having people who are wearing security badges and uniforms, you can also have plainclothes security. And that is what many of these countries within their stadium. So, Mr. Speaker, football is the passion of the nation. Wherever you even have even small teams playing within our communities, you can see that tension is always high. How much more when it has to do with league standings and the position of these teams on the various league tables. So whilst I commend my colleague, I would like, Mr. Speaker, with your kind direction, get the sports minister to also pay keen attention, one, to the issue of security, issues of officiating and refereeing, and third issue has to do with the siting of these drinking bars around the various stadiums. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sami Aku. Honorable member, let me give the opportunity to the lady.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to contribute on the statement made by the Honorable Member for Brekum West and on the situation of an unfortunate situation that happened in Nsuatre with the match between the Kotoko and Nsuatreman. It happened in Nsuatre, which is my constituency. I would like to extend my condolence to the entire family of the deceased. Mr. Speaker, on this note, we need to be very much careful and put in better and proper measures when there is match like this, because we have different supporters with different views and excitement. People come out and communicate or express their excitement in a different way. And so, with this unfortunate situation happening in my constituency, which I believe it shouldn't happen in any constituency, the entire sports ministries and heads or owners and management of football clubs should take this serious and make sure that these things do not happen again. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we should have a risk assessment before any match takes place, because we need to make sure that the park or wherever they are having these football games are well kept. We have CCTV cameras in case of emergency. We have proper security personnel. Even in addition of these military personnel can be added to it. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if much concentration and monitorization is put in place and we monitor the situation well, I don't believe that these things would happen. When this issue happened in my constituency, it called a lot of emergency, because if you look at where the ambulance service is in Nsuatre, they went far. We couldn't even get an ambulance at this particular situation. And it's rather unfortunate that my good brother, my father, the former MP for Sunyane West, and it's something we shouldn't really I was really worried because he's a senior colleague of mine, and I share with him at this particular situation, and I wish him well, because it can happen to anybody. And I pray that if measures are kept well and put in place, all these matters will reduce. Mr. Speaker, I would come to the point of our medical aid. We need to make sure we have first aid in situations and places like this, so that measures can be taken as early as possible. Because looking at the supporter of Kotoko, it means that if they had first aid available, we could have found a way to save him as early as possible. Again, Mr. Speaker, I would like to plead with the entire security and medical professionals, as I earlier on made, to have an emergency plan with a sports team in case there's such situation happens, so that we'll be able to help save lives and educate our fans in matters and how they should be jubilating when issues happens. And even the terrain that supporters need to, if they are ticketing that we're supposed to give to them, and monitor the number so they will not have a stampede at the park or the stadium, I think it will go a long way to help us. Thank you for the opportunity given to me, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. I'll give the floor to Honorable Professor Kingsley Nyako.
Honorable Speaker, I'm extremely grateful to you for the opportunity accorded me to make a brief comment on this sad statement made by our honorable brother. Mr. Speaker, it is so sad and painful for a life, a precious soul, to be lost when that person was enjoying the sport of football. Mr. Speaker, football is supposed to unite us. It is a source of enjoyment for most of us. And if you go to watch a game of football, you expect that your team wins. It beats my imagination why somebody, in their attempt to watch the beautiful game of football, should lose their life through violence. The Speaker, violence should not be allowed to fester in our society. We must understand that as human beings, we cannot all belong to the same group or association. We cannot. We can't also think alike, because society would be of no fun if you all belong to the same society. There should be diversity in terms of ideas, diversity in terms of belonging to association. That is when we can see growth and progress. What has happened is so sad. We need to condemn it and insist that the investigation into this barbaric acts is expedited so that the culprits will face the full rigors of the law. Indiscipline in this society is becoming one too many. We must halt it. We must stop it. Indiscipline anywhere is a threat to progress everywhere. Indiscipline anywhere is a threat to progress everywhere. And I think that we must come to the realization that Ghana can thrive and be stronger when we understand